News. Hey guys, Ryan Alford, your host of the Radcast.
You're listening to the Radcast.
If it's radical, we cover it. Here is Ryan and Riley.
Here's your host, Ryan Alford.
Hey guys, it's Ryan Alford. Welcome to today's episode of the Radical Company podcast. It's bizarro land out there, Brenda. We're trying to hold it together here, in our Zoom follies, which will be on Instagram later. Jokes aside, I'm real excited to have you on. Brenda, we've been, indirectly and directly, following each other and helping each other, doing different things. And, I've been an admirer from afar, but Brenda Mierzejewski, the CEO of Mizzi Cosmetics, joins us today.
Thank you, Ryan.
I had to drill the again. Brenda and I have been talking for a couple of years, but like that pronunciation of the last name, I'm just it is.
Oh, you got it. But you did good. You did good.
Good.
You did good.
Perfect.
I'm proud.
Well, really excited to have you on, and appreciate you finding the time. It's an interesting time, obviously, being an entrepreneur, running a business, and myself doing that as well. It's interesting navigating, but I do want to, dig into some of that. But I'd love to just start and give people, again, you run a successful cosmetics, natural beauty cosmetics. Am I saying that right? I stay away from the word organic. I've done enough on that to know the natural versus organic.
Yeah. So actually I will tell you, it's a clean beauty. So clean mixes in with natural, safe, sustainable, clean products. So it's a combination of natural, organic, sustainable, and safe. So that's what we are, clean beauty.
I got another category. Let me make a note of this. Clean to go with. We've worked with a couple of companies in the natural space, and in the you have to be pretty. The organic isn't interesting. You got to be pretty tied up, on a certain all the ingredients. We've gotten had to learn our take our battle knocks a few times with that on what could be organic and not. But I'd love to just start with, Brenda, let's tell kind of your background, what led to Mizzi, and then, let's get into, Mizzi and
absolutely,
and where you're at. Let's talk about it.
So we've been in business for 6 years now. I started Mizzi soon after my little boy had open heart surgery. So prior to that, I worked in big pharma for some big names for over 16 years. I was a materials manager, and I did a lot of the importing and exporting of, some of the drugs that you see on the market now from places like Bayer Pharmaceutical, Amgen, stuff like that. And then I found myself at home with my kids, which was wonderful. And my little boy, Brady, ended up having a heart condition that we found out about at 4 months old. So when that happened and we realized he had to have open heart surgery, our world kind of completely changed.
Yeah.
And while we were in the hospital, which is just so strange, but while we were in the hospital, seeing your little one there with, all these, everything on his face, these tubes everywhere, open mouth, breathing, and you see your kid in this ICU, cardiac ICU, his mouth was getting very dry. And they were putting what, you would call petroleum jelly. There's other brand names that everybody knows out there, on his lips. And I, at that time, was still a breastfeeding mother. And I asked the nurse, because they're putting so much on his face, is he going to ingest that? And is it okay? Is it okay that he's going to actually, ingest this petroleum? And they didn't really have an answer for me. They ended up wiping it off and When we got home, everything kind of changed for me. The way that I was feeding him, my daughter, what I was putting on their skin, because I don't know where this heart defect came from. And I was worried, did it come from me? Did I do something? Was it anything I was using on my skin? Was it anything I was ingesting? You know, really going back to what do I need to do to make it safe going forward? So, you know, I had a background in essential oils, and from my mother is the reason why we named the company Mizzi. That's her maiden name. She's from Sicily, and she has a big background with essential oils, taught me and my sisters. And, you know, I used that to try to do some, you know, safer things within my house, whether it was cleaning, whether if it was, you know, my kids had a fever or an ailment, I used these essential oils. And because he kept on having chapped lips thereafter because of the drugs that he was on to keep up with this heart surgery, I wanted to put something on his lips to not keep him from getting chapped. And everything over the counter had petroleum in it. And after doing some research, I found out that petroleum is not okay to ingest. It is something that can't metabolize in any human being's body. So after all the usage of the chapsticks and everything, Carmex, all these things that everybody's been using that is over the counter for years and years and years, a typical human being will ingest about 10 pounds of petroleum in their lifetime.
Wow.
And after finding this out from several studies and finding that this can lead to different types of lung issues, lung cancer, breast cancer, esophageal cancer, you know, my mind was blown. And, you know, working in the pharmaceutical industry, I called some of the people that I used to work with to find out, you know, is there something else that I can use besides petroleum? So they sent me all this stuff, and my husband came home from work one day and was like, Brenda, what is happening in our kitchen?
Was it like a science fair?
Oh my God. I had so many deliveries of all this stuff. I had all these different essential oils from all over the world. I had, you know, all these different bases that I can use, all these different emollients, and I just got cracking. So I just started making all this stuff. And what I ended up with was what we now call Lip Lux. And I started to use it on my kids. It was working. It was working for all sorts of stuff besides the lips. And I found myself with like literally hundreds of these little pots that I would buy from like Michael's, and I gave them out to everybody. And then what happened was kind of crazy. You know, weeks after, people were coming back. Brenda, can I buy some of this? Can you make more? It's working. My husband needs it. My wife needs it. My kids need it. My grandparents need it. I want this in the salon. I want this here. And I'm like, I have no idea what's happening right now, but okay, cool. I'm going to make some more stuff. This was fun. Let me make it. And at that time, my kids were about to start kindergarten, and I was ready to go back to work. And my husband's like, you know, I think you got something here. Why don't you try to sell this and see what you can do? So 6 years ago, I named it Lip Lux. You know, it was called Mizzi Cosmetics, and I started to sell to local salons in my area. I created my own website on, you know, that Wix.com, and I started selling. Got out there with all these coupons to all these moms everywhere, and it literally took off from there. We had a family friend that lived near where we lived and moved to Beverly Hills. And he's like, let me take it out to some surf shops out here. So he did, but his sister was a publicist. And she's like, hey, I want to get this in the Oscar swag bags. Would you want to do that? And I was like, no. I was like, I can't do that. Like, I don't have, like, I'm using like a little 8-ounce Pyrex dish. How am I going to do this for the Oscars? But my family's like, Brenda, you got to do this. If you're going to make this into something, you got to do it. So we did it. And, you know, needless to say, I got bigger dishes, and, you know, I was melting this stuff down in my kitchen, and it really just really took off from there. And that's when I realized, you know, I have a business here, and, you know, we made something out of it. And here we are 6 weeks later with a 3,500 square foot facility where we do all of our production. We have, maybe about 50 or so SKUs. We're in over 450 retailers, including Neiman Marcus, most of them being medical spas and esthetician facilities. And it's just been booming ever since. That's how we met you guys.
I know. We'll talk a little bit about that, but
Yeah.
it's like the great American business story. I mean,
Yeah.
like, this is the entrepreneur like story right here. Like,
Right.
starts in the kitchen with the science experiment but a reason, a
Right.
heartfelt reason, and then you grow it into a successful business. I
Right.
mean, it's like 101, the American dream, I think, right? In some ways.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. Like when I'm able to tell that story over again, I'm like, oh my God, we did that. And the first year it's like, oh, I've been doing it for a year. I've been doing it for 4 years. And now it's like 6 years later, here we are still, pumping this out. And we've learned a lot. It's been quite the journey with the people that we've met and what we've done with Mizzi.
I will say this. So, and this is a true story, I'll talk about how the samples and why they were here. To this day, the Cadmar, the men's Cadmar for the version is in my wife's. Now, she uses the men's Cadmar and she's kind of frugal and saves things or whatever. And so we had those samples or whatever. To this day, she keeps that in her little thing. She won't let anyone else use it. And now with everything going on, probably a smart move. But anyway, she is like protective of it because it's her absolute favorite.
Oh my God, that's
product.
Awesome. That's awesome. That's so funny.
Yeah, she's
great.
She's a believer. But and I was actually looking on your website because I need to order some of the women's stuff. She needs to upgrade from the men's Cadmar.
Yeah, she's got to get the
great
stuff with the box and the bow. She needs the luxury,
Yes.
lip lux.
Yes. So talk about from a marketing perspective, obviously, having worked with clients, this is a crowded space, cosmetics and beauty. It's a really competitive space,
Right.
all of that. What are some of the things, some of the pillars that you look back on? Obviously doing the Oscars things was a good launching pad, but are there other things that you feel like, maybe some of the influencers and things like that, or other things that have been part of your secret to success or just reality of success?
Yeah, before I knew too much about, digital marketing, I was kind of doing my own thing, created my own Facebook page, created my own Instagram page, Twitter page, updated it, put sales on there. Like I didn't know what I was doing myself. Like I don't have that marketing digital background.
Right.
So, learning about the Oscars and how these celebrities kind of got their hands on it, I started to reach out to other, I guess you would call them influencers at the time. And I went on some different websites to get their contacts, people that I really liked, people that I followed, different celebrities that I followed. And I found their contacts and I wrote to them. I mean, heart on my sleeve. I wasn't really asking for anything. I think that's the big thing. Everybody's always asking for something. But I wrote to them saying, this is my story. I'm a fan of yours and I want to share my product with you. I'm not asking you to post or do anything. I just want to share my product with you and share my story with you. And I ended up getting people to respond to that because I wasn't trying. I was just being myself. Like I didn't know what I was doing. I was just writing a letter to this person, pouring my heart out. This is who I am. This is what I made. You're somebody, I love watching your movies or I love watching your makeup tutorials and I'd love to share my product with you. Can I? And because I wasn't asking for anything but to share it, and they got to know me, they saw my Facebook page, they read my story, these people ended up posting about me or wanting to write about me or these editors and beauty editors and one of them being Kylie Jenner. I reached out to her publicist, which I had no idea at the time was a cousin of theirs, who I am great friends with to today, that I talk to every month, and we have a wonderful relationship. And I wrote her a letter saying, I see this girl at the time, which was in like 2015, who was getting flooded by the media because her lips looked different. And, here's this girl who's very popular. Her sisters are very popular. These celebrities, they have their own reality show. And here's this girl coming into her, 18, 19 years old. And she, everybody was ridiculing her for her lips. And I felt bad. She's like, my sis, like a little sister. I felt bad. And I said, I just want to share my product with her. And she loved my email. She told me that she gets emails every day for people asking, and I wasn't asking. And she then asked me to send everything to all of the K girls. So all of the Jenners and all of the Kardashians. And 7 weeks later, unbeknownst to me, I was going to pick up my kids at the bus stop. I was stuffing my face with a chicken parm from a local pizzeria, and my cell phone started going off that Kylie Jenner just posted a video about us. And sure enough, it was this big fat video, what's in her travel bag. And all of a sudden I'm in People magazine, I'm in Allure magazine, Cosmopolitan, everywhere. Beauty editors are calling me, interviewing me. Local places are trying to get me on. And then all of a sudden I'm on TV every 6 weeks. I'm going on my local news. So I wasn't expecting any of that. And we were able to keep up with the orders, but that really got us out there. And I was just trying to be true to who I was. I wasn't trying to do anything but be Brenda at that time. And it worked. And it still works for me to this day, because I'm not trying to ask for these things. I'm just putting myself out there, and I want to share my stuff. And if they want to share it, they will. And they are, and they keep doing it. So, taking anything from that digital, I didn't have any digital people working for me at that point. I know that, Mary, she's, our digital manager, and, we've grown very organically, and I like to keep it that way. The followers that we have are organic followers through influencers and consumers and Kylie and whomever. Like, they're following us because they heard about us, not because of anything else that we did. So it's been organically growing, I should say.
But I think, we counsel clients all the time, and, I've used this phrase for a while, B to H, which is business to human. People want real.
Yeah.
And that rings so true. People try to manufacture things, and, they think that they have to put on an air or act a certain way or do a certain thing. But if you're a good person and you're just trying to run a business and you've got a good product, look, hey, proof's in the pudding. You have a great product that you've put out there, and it takes care of itself once you get it in people's hands. But at the same time, the realness of your story, what you've been through, and being transparent about getting that out there, people sometimes get so locked into the self awareness and like not being real, and it all comes back to more being scared of not being accepted, I think, in some way. But I think that is a home run story for exactly that realness that really resonates with people.
Right. Absolutely. And people want, I see a lot of products out there that are great. But I always look at the about page or who started this, and some of them are really good, and it's just an idea, which ideas are great because people need products. But when I see somebody behind it and I see their story, it just resonates more with me as a consumer, whether I'm buying stuff for myself or my kids or my husband or my friends. When I see that story, it means something. For me, it means something,
Yep. So let's talk, you've been pivoting here a little bit. with everything going on, so I do want to get into that, like the world's changed. I don't know if it's ever going to be what it was in some ways. We both talked pre-episode, about, your kids, you mentioned my kid, like, hey, what have you been through? There's no reference point for what's going on. But I do think the brands, back to both the story, the realness, and the reality of this, your ability to pivot or to have the idea to pivot, is how we're counseling clients now. It's no different than, the easiest example is, a restaurant going and doing delivery, or take out, and in some ways, things they probably should have been doing already. Right. But this is definitely a pivot for you guys. So let's talk about what you've been doing to kind of help serve a need with what's going on.
Right. Well, I think what I've learned over the past 6 years is sometimes I've been afraid to do certain things because I'm like, oh no, we can't do that. But why? And, we have a fantastic marketing manager that works with us that really helps us think outside of the box. And, for years, like even before I started this, I was making hand sanitizer for my kid. Like I make everything at home. So we have a whole nother line that nobody else has seen because we're just not ready to release it to the world. We're hyper focused on lip care. So, when this whole Corona thing started and we heard that it, came to the US, it was literally on a Wednesday night. My daughter was done with her piano lessons and her name is Liana. And I was like, Liana, let's go to the lab. Let's go make some hand sanitizers. Let's pass them out to daddy's school, to your school, to the teachers, and let's have some for ourselves. You could put like a little one in your book bag. So we got into the lab and we made some stuff. And, even though it's clean beauty, when it comes down to bacteria and germs, you can only use 4 different things. And an essential oil is not going to kill that. So you need either isopropyl alcohol, hydrogen peroxide, bleach, or some other type of toxin that nobody wants to actually use on themselves, but it's like for surface spray. So we use a lot of isopropyl alcohol here to sanitize our facility. So, and I mix that with essential oils and aloe and whatnot to make it as close to our brand as we possibly can. And to make it work, through the CDC and what the CDC says to use, especially for this coronavirus. Very hard to kill without using specific ingredients. So, I took a picture of it. I took a picture of Liana with a tray with all this hand sanitizer. And, after talking to my team, they're like, Brenda, it started to get very serious around, I think it was the second week of March where, schools were closing and, everybody needed either masks or gloves or hand sanitizer. And knowing that we have a facility here, we just opened up our new production facility in November. We have the capability and we have the vendors to provide to us, very, very quickly before anything happened. I reached out to those vendors and I said, can you provide such and such per week if we were to order this in bulk? And I think we did that at the right time before everybody started to buy hand sanitizer. And I just spoke with my team. I said, we got to do this. I don't know what we got to do. We got to buy dispensers. We have to, buy gallons of lavender. We need to get the aloe in here. And these are all things that we were already procuring. Not in this type of bulk, but we were already procuring it. So we were already a customer for these people. And once they heard what we were doing for the state of Connecticut, providing, donating to our town, to first responders, nurses, doctors, providing to the hospitals, and then going outside of Connecticut, these vendors wanted to help us. And we just literally, like the hat that you got on, just flipped it. And we just started doing it. And even though we have other orders coming in, we have another team that's able to handle the lip orders. And then we have another team that comes in and we work in pods so that no one isn't like, if I'm with Rebecca, who's here with me today, it's just me and her right now working in a pod here in the office 30 feet apart from each other.
Yeah.
Then the production team will come in and make, the hand sanitizers. And it wasn't even a question. It was just imperative for us to do it. And we just jumped on it at the right time. We were able to get the stuff in, because if you go and try to be a manufacturer of this stuff now, you couldn't get your hands on anything right now. And, even the type of products like the sprays, like you can't get that right now.
Yeah.
It's almost impossible. So we just had to do what we had to do. And we are actually working day and night and on the weekends to get stuff out to the people that need it the most, and to the consumers. It's kind of hard to have that conversation with some people that are calling that need it, but aren't going anywhere. We're like, do you have access to running water and soap? Because if you do, I need to send this hand sanitizer to the nurse that needs it, as opposed to you right now, but we'll get it to you.
Right.
So we're trying to prioritize everything, and we're catching up, and we're serving everybody right now, which is great.
That's great. Is it throughout the state of
It's
Connecticut?
throughout it's
US wide?
It's the U.S. now. So we are providing, we're helping everybody from, we got called in, the Navy called about the USN, it's the Mercy and the Comfort ships. So we're trying to see if we're going to be working with them to help provide them. Even the New York hospitals, Columbian, Presbyterian, they're calling us, local hospitals, a lot of the smaller urgent care places, the labs, and then now a lot of the people that are dealing with customers. So like you just said, like these restaurants that are doing delivery, these people need hand sanitizer because not that they're essential, but they're open and they're helping. Automotive places, places that you wouldn't think of need it because they're dealing with consumers.
Yeah. I noticed it looks like, at least from a consumer standpoint, you're sold out on the website. I was going through the site. I mean, is it like as soon as you turn it on, it sells out?
It does, but we have, so what we're trying to do is really be able to manage the flow. So there's two different flows. There's the e-commerce flow, and then there's the flow to the first responders. So there's two different teams right now. So right now I'm managing a lot of the distribution for the e-commerce, and then we have another team doing the first responders. But we manage it because we are delivering to all of Connecticut. We have a delivery service through Mizzi that's delivering through all of Connecticut. And then the rest has to go UPS. And that's been a little bit hard for some of our consumers or just new consumers, because what people don't understand, I think people take or take things for granted before this, is that when the demand is there and you have Amazon and all these other places, you can get things for you pay no shipping.
Yeah.
But now, this is a flammable good. It's a dangerous good. I can't ship it normal. It's expensive to ship. So we're actually eating some of the cost and offering a flat rate, because somebody from Arizona that's ordering 3, it's going to be $17. So we're just charging a flat rate of $8. So it's hard all the way around, but if we can, I don't know, help, and this might sound stupid, but we say this to help save the world one hand at a time by doing this hand sanitizer. We're going to do it however we can to make it feasible for everybody to get their hands on it, But we release in batches. So we have it and we just release it in batches so that we can handle the flow that's coming in.
Well, if you need some help telling this story in the future, I see a really nice brand video of coming together for this.
Yeah.
What's all the social distancing comes, because this is a great story. I mean, karma. I believe in karma, and you take care of others, and they take care of you. And it looks like you guys are kind of living that day by day.
Right.
So as we kind of close out a little bit here, I'd love for just maybe some value for people listening, if you have it. I know you do, but thinking about entrepreneurs or people, and I know everyone's a little bit, it's a weird time, so like I think people should be thinking about these things, but knowing that there's some limitations on the ability to activate the ideas.
Right.
But
Right.
are there any like tips or like things that you would say, what you've done with Mizzi and like the growth as an entrepreneur? Are there any learning lessons or tips for someone that's trying or thinking about this that might be hitting roadblocks, or, are there any just guiding principles for you as far as what's gotten you where you are?
I think your hat kind of says it all. So your hat says, don't quit. And that's a very big thing for me. I'm a very passionate person. And if you're very passionate about something that you really believe in, that that is going to work, you need to do your due diligence. So just because you have a great idea, and I'm not saying that it's not a great idea, but you want to do that little bit of research, find out who's going to buy it, or, get it out there to people, do those samples, get those things out there and see what the result would be. And if you get a good result back, then you go for it. I'm a big risk taker. I think a lot of entrepreneurs are risk takers, but you got to do it with some mindfulness, in the background. You need to know what you're doing. You need to be safe. I work in cosmetics. I'm a cosmetic chemist. I have to be very careful with what I'm putting out there, making sure that it's safe for everybody. But once I have that and I could put that out there, I'm going to go and do it. I don't wait anymore. And it's almost like you need to come out of your own skin and get out of your own way and just get out there and do it. Because if you have that great idea, and you've been thinking about it for a while, and that it's going to help impact people and impact yourself, I think, you have to be able to be that risk taker, but you have to have a really good team around you as well. And it's hard to find the right people, but once you do, you got to hang on to those people, because those people are going to help you grow your business. And you need to be able to feed off of other people and talk to other people about your ideas and what other people may think. Because, I've had really great ideas over the last 6 years that I thought were great. And, talking to my staff or my consumers and doing surveys, and they're like, oh no, we would never buy that. And I'm like, okay, I need to go back to the drawing board. But, it's all, excuse me, sorry about that. It's all, trial and error. And I really think people need to go for it, because you only got one life to live, and, life is short. And if you don't try to do something that you're dreaming about or that you're passionate about, you're going to always wonder, and you will regret that. So that's my advice, I guess I should say.
I love the risk taker part. If you show me a successful self-made entrepreneur and they aren't a risk taker, I want to see their inheritance, because
right?
because I don't know many self-made entrepreneurs that, whether or not they're billionaires or millionaires or not, is not really the point. More like you've made it on some level. You can pay your own bills, and you can have a staff and run a business. There's an inherent risk. I'm a risk taker, and I have a family, and I don't like jump off buildings or anything like that, or like risk the farm on every decision. But I just think that's an inherent characteristic of self-made entrepreneurs. And if you're not, and that's sometimes self-awareness, if you're not that person, I'm not saying that you can't be it, but you're going to have someone that's with you or involved that's going to have to help push you towards that.
Absolutely.
Just the ones I know that are truly self-made, that's been a really guiding principle. But hey, Brenda, I really appreciate it. I want to do this again. I think, just given the time period, I wanted to delve more into kind of where you're pivoting and things like that. I'd love to get and dive more into some of your products and some of the e-commerce side and a little bit more of the business. So let's do this again soon.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd love to. And I know
I'd love to.
Our listeners and watchers and all that are going to love hearing your story. And I think there's going to be some great lessons as well as just motivation for them. So I can't wait to do it again, and let's stay in touch as we move forward. And if you need anything, we're here. So
yeah, thank you so much for having me on, Ryan. It's always a pleasure.
All right, Brenda. Thank you so much. We'll talk soon.
Thank you. All right.